What do you do when you absolutely hate marketing yourself online? What do you do when maybe you secretly hate it, but you project something else? Or when you feel totally frozen, when you feel like you need to put yourself out there? That's what I'm talking about in today's episode of my Unstuck podcast. I'm Libby Langley. Hi, welcome. Nice to see you here again. This is a really interesting one for me because marketing has been, I don't know, the lifeblood of my business, I guess, since I started it 14 years ago. My background is marketing. My MBA that I did I completed it just as I started the business. My dissertation was on social media marketing strategy. I've always kind of taught social media, or I guess I've taught visibility without calling it that as such. And I've been really prolific, I would say, in the online space and speaking on stages and networking and everything forever. I did it when I had a job, back in the days when I had a job, and I've done it in my business. But yeah, I don't really like it. It's weird, isn't it? And I know I've said in previous episodes of this podcast that since I started also recording it for YouTube, hello if you watch it on YouTube, it's different for me because I have to show up differently, and whilst it's still extremely intimate, and I'm just talking to you and it's fab and I love that, it is kind of a different space for me to be in. And I've stepped away from social media a lot in recent months because that kind of noise of being visible has, I don't know, periodically it gets too much for me. And what's kind of interesting is looking back over the years of changes to my business, it's been because the pressure of the constant self-marketing has been the thing that's got to me. And I don't know if that's because I'm an introvert. I don't know if that's because I'm autistic and we like to hide away. I don't know if it's a combination or I'm just antisocial. It's probably a combination of all of those things. But it is very, very difficult. And I think people are often surprised when I share this information because, I don't come across as that. Absolutely not. And I'll happily talk on a stage in front of, hundreds of people. I do that in kind of phases, I guess, really. It's not my core part of my marketing strategy, but it is a part of it. And absolutely, quite happy to do it. I'm very seasoned at doing it. And do it well, just saying. But it's my natural mode is being at home in my office, doing things by myself. And I think that's why I like podcasting so much, actually, is because I get to be in my safe space, in my comfortable space, and also market. So I love this podcast. It's coming up for 3 years since I launched it, and I've never stuck at anything consistently for 3 years. So it says something, right? It's why we're on episode 153 today. But it is, I do just find, I try and kind of analyze the way I feel about things, because I think then if I talk about that, that's going to help someone because it's going to resonate, okay? But it's like, it's kind of interesting. It's never really necessarily a fear of judgment that I have. Now, you may feel that, but I don't think necessarily, or if I show up online, people are going to think I'm a twat or whatever. I mean, people think that anyway, whatever. But or think that I don't know what I'm talking about or anything like that, because I've got enough evidence within myself to know that none of that is true. And I think that that's the difference, really. Maybe, I don't know. But even when I didn't know what I was talking about, I get a dopamine hit, I think, from being in front of people and saying things and knowing the answers. And again, I realise that's a kind of neurodivergent thing. It's like, oh, me, I know. So there's an element of that to me, for me. But it's the thing that really gets to me. So it's not so much a fear of judgment, which I'm going to talk about all of these things. It's not so much a fear of judgment. It's just I don't have the energy to be in that, to turn it on today. And sometimes today becomes weeks, months even, because it takes a very different energy for me to be visible. Not with writing, okay? Not with writing. I can write until the cows come home, and I love writing, and my Substack that I'm launching and the emails that I send and all of these things, all of this I love doing, and I find very nurturing to me, as well as obviously supporting to people, and it's marketing, right? But it's the video element, I think. It's the video element, and it's the having to be creative. No, okay, having to be. Let me catch myself saying that. The way the social media platforms demand that we present ourselves, right? I shouldn't do it, but it's the way you kind of have to, like having to have images and visuals and do video and all of these things. And those aren't, it's that, right? It's me showing up in a way that I don't want to, whether that's just creating an Instagram post and having to do a picture and all of this. And it's just like, and I know there are other ways of doing that, and I'm going to kind of talk about all of those, but I just wanted to share my own thoughts and experience on it, really, because I know that I am seen as a super visual, super confident person, and I am confident, and I am visible, but it's not my natural mode. If I could never show up other than writing stuff when I felt like it, that would be great. If nobody knew what I looked like anymore, also I think that would probably be great. But then conversely, I would be really lonely, and I wouldn't have made the friends that I've made, and I wouldn't have the clients that I made. So what it's all about really is just balancing what works for you. Yeah, because we're all different, but it's okay to say, do you know what, I don't really like this. I don't really want to do videos. I don't want to. Okay, well, don't then. And and you balance it. And it's particularly hard at the moment, I think, because we moved house not long ago, and my new office is in the right in the middle of a big old renovation. So it's just it's a shit space to be in. I mean, the view out the back and the cows that I see is just incredible. But it's not a good backdrop, right? So I'm really conscious of it. Looks, I don't even know what it looks. It's awful, right? It's really awful. And we knocked down a cupboard in the corner over the weekend, and so I've been doing some plastering and learning all that, and so for me to feel comfortable showing up on video, I need my comfort of my backdrop, I guess. And I don't have the comfort of my backdrop, so I'm finding it more difficult to do things like that, even in internal stuff, if you like with client calls. And my clients are gorgeous, right? In my Unstuck community, would never judge. And, sometimes they're in cafes, something, it doesn't matter, right? It's the fact that we're all there. But for me, to present myself, my backdrop is really important. And the fact that I don't have it at the moment, I'm just like, I do not like the way this looks. So it makes marketing myself in terms of video much more challenging for me, and it's not my natural mode anyway. So interesting. I'll be really interested to know what you think about that, particularly if you're watching this on YouTube. Your thoughts on, not on judging what I'm doing, because honestly, don't do that. But hopefully you're not watching, if you've got this far in, you're not watching it and thinking that. So, but your experience would be really interesting about that. And if you're listening too, what you think about marketing yourself and how you feel. So do let me know, because I think it's something that it's not really addressed enough. It's like you see people, there's visibility coaches, and there's, I don't know, get yourself out there, ask it coaches and this, but it's like, yeah, but it's not necessarily that I am frightened, or one is you are frightened, we are frightened of doing that. Don't really like it. It's not my natural mode. So yeah, you'll see me on stage and I do a great talk and and all of that, and teaching, running workshops and all that. I've done thousands of them over the years, and I really love that. But to me, that's kind of different to marketing, because marketing is showing up and presenting yourself and selling yourself, really. So there is a subtle difference. But let's start with the root of the fear then, right? For me, it's feeling uncomfortable. That's what it is. I guess there used to be an element of me not thinking I was polished enough or slick enough. And as I got older, I just thought, I don't care and I can't be asked. Sure, I could do loads of video editing and do really clever things. And I'm like, that's not what I teach. So what does it matter? to me, it's really important to show up how you would for your clients. And for me, that's not about what my backdrop is or what I'm wearing or any of that stuff, right? That we might worry about what my hair looks like, any of that stuff that we might worry about when, or have a fear. That's part of the fear of not wanting to show up online. But it's like, yeah, but that's not what you're paying for. That's not what my clients are paying me for. My clients are paying me for what happens in my brain, how I pull apart and analyse and put back together, and with all the love and the kindness with their businesses. That's what people are paying for. So it kind of doesn't really matter. It's about me feeling comfortable. And this is for you as well. It's about how you feel and not what you should be doing, right? Because there's never any shoulds with this. But it's about, is this appropriate? And I want you to remember this. Is this appropriate to the way I deliver my services? Okay. Or is this becoming a really elaborate rabbit hole, shall we say? Because that is possible too, right? And that's it's a real danger that we have. And, but spending hours editing a video when what you do is, I don't know, massage therapy. I don't know. It sort of doesn't matter. You see what I mean? It's not what people are paying for. And yes, it might get you more likes, more followers and all of this, but unless that converts, this is the real thing about going viral. Unless it converts, who cares? It's just vanity metrics or a bit of fun at the time or massively overwhelming or however you feel about it. So none of that kind of matters. So it's about the appropriateness of the marketing for what you want, what it brings back to you and what you get back. And for me, it's, my podcast and my emails and my book, but it's the kind of, it's that stuff. It's not me showing up on camera necessarily. It's the words that I speak or the words that I write. So it's interesting, yeah? No one's ever wanted to work with me because they like my trainers, to my knowledge. I mean, I have some really cool trainers, but, I don't think anyone has ever done that. And if you are listening and you're a client and that was your reason, let me know, because I'd happily be proven wrong on that. So there's the fear. There's the fear of rejection, judgment, failure, and of being visible itself. There's also the other fear, right, which is the fear of being too much. Too overexcited, too energetic, too extroverted, too loud. That's not something I've never felt that, right? I'm on the not enough camp, absolutely always. But there will be some of you who have been told that you're too much and you're too loud and all of these things. And it doesn't kind of matter which way, where you feel you fit, if that makes sense, in terms of that negativity or your own fear. It's still real, right? It's still real and still valid. And, introvert, extrovert, autistic, ADHD, neurotypical, whichever, we all kind of can possibly have the same things. And I think there's an element of, probably misogyny, but kind of maybe cultural baggage about it too, of, women supposed to be quiet and homemakery and all of that stuff. So, sisters doing it for themselves. We have perhaps this ingrained thing of actually we shouldn't be too pushy or too salesy or anything like that. But this is not about selling. Yes, it is, but also it's not. It's about putting yourself out there so people know who you are and what you do. Okay, sales come from that for sure, but this is not like, when I first started in my first job was sales, ad sales for a newspaper, and it was like, the attention, interest, desire, and action, the AIDA model, which does apply, and you can use that through your videos and through your writing, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the physical, like showing up and being there and people knowing where you are. And honestly, it can sometimes just be exhausting. Because it's like if you put something out and then you're going to get responses to it, it's like, oh God, no, I need to deal with those. And whilst it's incredible, and I absolutely love it, genuinely love it when you message me or email me or something with what you think about this. And I really enjoy reading those. But there is, and also, it's like, oh, I don't want to, I'm tired now. Or, do you know what I mean? It's like everything in business is about balancing how you feel and what you think. And, it's just what it is. But just wanted to say what marketing is, okay? Because marketing isn't selling, and it is also selling, right? But marketing is just starting conversations. It's just communication. It's just a way of saying, hiya, it's your shop front, If you've got a shop, you have a shop front. That is marketing. What you display in your window, the signs that you have up, I don't know, the view through the window into the shop itself, that's all marketing, right? And so when you work from home on your own, which I know a lot of you do, and I do, we don't have a shop front. We don't have a high street presence like that. And therefore we need to create that. And yes, a website is one of those things. That's in SEO, people don't come at me, but it's arguably becoming increasingly more difficult to get your website found because of AI searches and all of this. But there are, I don't know, if I listed them all, there's probably about 100 different ways that you can market yourself. And that's a lot. Social media is one of still, even though I have a love-hate relationship with it, is still one of the best ways to connect with people because it's free and it's there, right? And yes, it's changed over the years, and yes, it's got noisier and all of these things, but it's still free and it's there, and people are there. So it is, it is a great way to do it. And marketing is just communicating what you offer, what you do, who you are, in a way that others can understand and connect with. It's no more complicated than that. And I'm a marketing strategist, right? Like I said, this bloody MBA dissertation on social media marketing strategy. I'm a marketing strategist, but there's also, just like go out there and start talking to people. That's the absolute core basics of marketing. And it should always be something that you do in some shape or form. If you do no marketing whatsoever and you sit at home on your own, you're going to have no business. And Bill Gates said years and years and years ago, if he was down to his last dollar, then he would spend it on marketing. And marketing spend doesn't have to be ads, right? It can be software that, like a membership portal or something that you share your message in. Yeah, it doesn't have to be advertising is marketing, but also it's kind of different. But there's different kinds. So there's content-based marketing, which I'm a massive fan of, right? That's things like this podcast, blogs, YouTube channels, social media posts, email newsletters, and that kind of stuff is really good for people like me who are thinkers, who are teachers, and who are kind of slow burn trust builders, right? I'm absolutely in that camp through and through. And I love that stuff. I really enjoy a lot of that. Then there's relationship-based marketing, which is things like networking, referrals, partnerships, events, and also sending DMs as well. I would kind of put that in that camp because it's a bit more active than content-based marketing. And that's great for connectors, introvert, extroverts, community-driven people, community-focused people. And some of that I really like. So networking, I've always really enjoyed networking, but it's got to be structured. I don't want to just walk into a room and have to small talk for ages. I like in person and I like structured. So you all introduce yourself, and then, kind of makes sense. You have topics to talk about, right? Really, really suits me. But it, because I'm a connector. I am a connector, but I'm also a thinker and a teacher and a slow burner as well. So you've got to decide which particular conundrum you are, right? And which mix of things. Then there's visibility-based marketing. So this is more really getting out there and speaking about stuff. So that's things like speaking, keynote speaking, which I do. I probably do, I don't know, maybe half a dozen a year, not loads, but speaking events, PR, interviews, guest podcasts, which is great. I love doing those because I can do those from the comfort of my own home. Get to have some really interesting conversation there. Even awards, too. I could do a whole different episode about awards, but awards that you don't pay for. Right, that's really good for storytellers and people with really strong viewpoints. And then possibly my least favourite, it's interesting, is performance-based marketing, which is things like ads and funnels and SEO and leads magnets and launches. And that's really good for people who love structure and also who want a scalable system. But what I will say, and I've been teaching this stuff for years, right? And I do all of these things, all of those, the content-based marketing, relationship-based marketing, visibility-based and performance-based. I do bits of all of them and always have done, years, 20 years, whatever, of doing all that, right? But the performance-based marketing is possibly the thing that I find the hardest, because there are so many metrics to measure. And what's not working, what can I tweak? Which rabbit hole am I going down now? So it's interesting. Whilst I love setting all this stuff up, I then don't much enjoy it running, because I have this constant kind of guilt of pressure of, is it working? What have you done wrong? What do you need to change? What did you miss? So the easiest stuff for me is the content-based marketing, which is the slow trust building. I put it out there and you'll listen, you won't listen, you'll work with me, you won't work with me. You know, there's obviously kind of a funnel in the middle of that somewhere. So, you know, you can sign up to get my emails, you can download my freebie, libbylangley.com/stuck. Go get my freebie. I had to remember what the web address was there. And you know, you have to be kind of a mix of it, but you will find there are things that you like more than others, and that's okay. And do more of the ones that you enjoy, but make sure that ultimately they do bring you in. They do bring you in work. They do bring people to you, or it's a hobby, and that's fine too. That's fine too. Okay, but there's got to be some sort of conversion along there too. So, you know, if you've only when you talk about marketing, if you only think about, oh right, that's making some reels on social media, there are so many other elements there, and certainly things like the hard selling in your DMs. I'm never going to do that because it makes my skin crawl, right? So just don't do it. If you feel like that about something, you don't have to do it, because there are so many other things, right? There's not just one type of marketing. There's not just one way of doing it. You get to find and you get to mix and match with what works for you. And I think it's really important to kind of reframe marketing as a service. You know, you're not annoying people by your very existence by doing any of this. You're helping people to decide. And if you genuinely believe that what you do is helpful, which I do, I don't believe it, I know it as a fact. I have, you know, plenty of clients who, that was great, I feel better, I'm making more money, you know, I've changed my working hours, all of this. I've got so much actual data, anecdotal some of it, sure, not numbers, but that sharing that message, I never feel bad about that, because I'm not selling some con, you know, as I'm sure you're not either. And I think that's kind of the difference. And also, it's not necessarily about asking for attention. It's offering clarity to people and offering solutions to people. So you're not marketing yourself to look at me, look at me, look at me. You're marketing yourself to say, do you know what? There's this thing that I do that's really going to help you and make you feel better. So I just wanted to kind of put it out there. And that's really the message of that. And yes, you can go much harder than that, and you can do launches, and you can, you know, there's lots of things that you can do to be more proactive in terms of your marketing, but you don't have to be. There's absolutely a place for slow burn and soft and gentle. It's all relative, right? It depends on your business. It depends what you need in terms of your income. It depends how long you've been in business. That's a really important thing. If you're starting out, you probably need to go all in on quite a few of them to test what works. But if you've been in business for a longer time, like me, you know, it's 14 years. I have a reputation. I have a client base. I have people who've known me for you know, forever. And that brings, well, you know, blimey, it brings a certain sense of privilege, but also a sense of relief that you perhaps don't need to be in quite as many places as you used to be. I'm not saying it's easy though, because it's much more competitive and crowded than ever it used to be. And yes, the people who shout loudest and who are the shiniest will be the most successful. And I say successful because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes for them, but you know, that I'm never going to be one of those people. So I stopped trying to compete with those people for quite a long time. And yes, it does annoy me that I've been in business much longer and arguably am much more conscientious and all of that stuff, but I'm not as successful. And again, I say successful there as them. But this is what we have to balance, right? It's like, what do you want? How do you want your business to look? How do you want to show up for people? Because you got to show up in some way, shape or form, and do what suits you and what works for you, and be comfortable with that. Own that, yeah? Own the fact that you're doing your podcast from a room with at least there aren't holes in the ceilings this week. It's plaster half done, and it's fine, it's whatever, that's for me to deal with. That doesn't impact the way I would be able to support you, or I do support you as a client, right? If you're a client. So the right people want to hear from you. That's genuinely the truth. So I want you to remember that. You will be brightening someone's day by showing up. That's the absolute truth. And that's the thing to remember. And if you can brighten one person's day or help one person with something today, you've done a good job. Yeah. And then you amplify that as much as you want or need to. So if marketing has always felt hard or horrible, just please know that it's not anything to do with you, right? Sure, you can learn better skills and, techniques and all that stuff. It certainly doesn't mean that you're not cut out for business. What it means is that you haven't found the right way for you. You haven't found your way. And if you ever want any help on that, that's the kind of thing that we talk about all day, every day inside my Unstuck community. So come join us. Go to libbylangley.com. That's my website. You'll get all the links to all the everything on there. And if you want to come join us, then you'll be extremely welcome. It's such a nice place to be. But for now, this has been the Unstuck Podcast. I'm Libby Langley, and it's been an absolute pleasure and a joy. And I'll see you next week. But I wish you all the best with your marketing for this week. I hope you do it with joy and happiness, whatever form it takes for you. All right. Lots of love. See you next time. Bye.